So what happened was when I started my business, my art got totally pushed to the side. I have so many art supplies. I have so much stuff I'm going to make a sculpture with. And I have a huge antique drafting board here in my office that if you've ever seen my office without the backdrop, it's like takes up a third of the backdrop. I'm going to put a big branding sign on it, but it's from like 1945 and it's so cool, but I'm not using it like I used to. And not having that outlet actually makes a huge difference in how much of a vision I can create about other things. Giving my mind time to rest by doing something else actually helps. A business mentor of mine, who also produces this podcast, hi Eric, he says, sitting down and binging Netflix for a couple hours in the middle of the afternoon when you're feeling overwhelmed or when you're feeling stuck is also work time. Because by escaping out of your brain and letting something else think for you, for lack of a better word, you're allowing those little ideas to percolate in the background and come up better than the bubbling of the procrastination item. This is percolating and it's producing something. And all of a sudden you can be just standing in a line somewhere or watching a show or flipping through your phone and go, oh, that's it, because that noise has been cut. So I think you make a really, really good point, because everything is helping you move forward in your business done correctly. And if you listen to what's going inside your brain, inside your brain, right?
Oh, I'm excited. I want to see your drafting board and some of your art. I think that's amazing.
I can show you when we stop recording. But the whole idea is, to let your brain rest a little bit, right? To not go completely, I was going to say balls to something, but you know what I mean. I should have said two walls, but there you go. I just went ahead and said it. So, you can't constantly, I can't be trusted on a family-friendly podcast, man. So it's the last one I remembered to discuss how real Santa Claus was. So the important part is knowing that if you are trying to, white knuckle it. I have a tendency to overschedule myself. I have a tendency to say yes to too many things and underestimate how much time a volunteer position will become the minute they figure out what you're doing. So like I've had to say no to 2 boards this month, and it's lovely to be asked, but I literally can't fit any more in. So when I think about what you're saying, it's I'm kind of scared of my own schedule right now, is what you're making me think. And so is that what you're seeing people come to you with, just saying, I have too many things, not just in my brain, but on my schedule, and now they don't know where to concentrate first, how to shuffle it to be priorities? Like what's the roadblock for the majority of the entrepreneurs you work with?
Yeah, I think sometimes it's that, like you said, they've overcommitted themselves. And sometimes we overcommit because, you know that you want to bring exposure to your business. And so you're not really sure exactly where it's going to come from. And so you could be on Clubhouse, you could be on LinkedIn, you could be on Facebook Live, you could be in a local networking group, you could be, you fill in the blank. There's like 100 ways to think how to get. Yeah.
Doing all of those. LinkedIn groups. Yeah. All of those.
Yeah. And so I think that, honestly, there's a lot practically that I could say, but I think at the end of the day, it comes down to knowing your worth and knowing that I am more valuable to the people that I serve I am valuable to the people that I serve, and I'm better to them. I can show up better when I've put myself first. And there's a lot of pressure on entrepreneurs. There's a ton of pressure. There are, and we've talked briefly a few times in this podcast, just in knowing that comparison is something that constantly creeps in, because you can't show up to these spaces and not compare yourself at least a little bit, And so then that makes you think, man, I could see them doing all of this. I'm sure I could squeeze one more thing in. And so taking that, like you said, quieting your mind, taking that step back and just saying, like, is everything that I'm doing do I need to be doing all of these things? Is this even producing an ROI in my business? Like, I've shown up on this, fill in the blank platform every week for the last 2 months. Have I even seen an ROI? Does it even make me happy? Do I love this? And if the answer is no, like, just stop. Nobody's like
your
making
schedule,
you.
man. Marie Kondo that schedule.
Yes.
I do not like this, and
Yeah.
I am tossing it. Of course, the old joke is that's everything. Every fresh vegetable in the treadmill will go out the door too. But just for your business schedule, I think that's a really good way to look at it. I think it's a really good way to look at it. Yeah.
Because if you take aligned action and you really think through what's going to bring me that feeling of whatever you want to feel in your business, however you want to feel, empowered, creative, joyful, abundant, however you want to feel when you show up to your business and the people you serve, and you make the decision to really evaluate your schedule and you say, none of this stuff aligns with the way that I want to feel and my best version of myself for my clients and my team. This is not an action that's aligned with the way that I know I can be my best. And so let's just cut the fat, let's just cut it out. And there are other things that you maybe can replace it with, or maybe that is just quiet time or time in nature or whatever that looks like. I love what Eric said. Whatever you need to do, that's work too. Because I've told people you can sit at your laptop and just force yourself to go through stuff. And it could take you 3 hours because you had to take breaks and scroll on social media, whatever little, coping mechanisms we have to get through it. Or you could take 2 of those hours and do something enjoyable. And then when you sit back down, you're in a space, you can cruise through whatever you needed to do, and it will just take an hour. So again, self-trust, knowing what is best for you, and then just making yourself a priority and saying no, I value myself. I'm worth it. I'm going to do this.
It's amazing how many of my podcasts come back to the self-care of the entrepreneur. And because it's all intertwined, especially now that so many of us are working from home, though a lot of entrepreneurs were working from home long before COVID. And when you talk about having a strategic plan that, then we want to change it. And, yes, that's me. It's, you want to keep staying motivated and on track. You want to make decisions that's moving you forward. But, you said, what if this network isn't making me happy? And I'm thinking, I always thought it was moving me forward, but is it? If I feel like, oh God, I got to go to this again every week. And Eric runs one, not you, Eric. Eric runs an amazing network. It's the whole system online. So, if am I showing up to this thing in town and saying, why am I here? This is just me and several real estate agents, and that's not going to help either of us. That's all great, but it's not for me. So I'm going and I'm hoping that I'm going to get referrals and I'm hoping that my name gets out there, but is it actually giving me an ROI? That's really important. And if I'm not taking care of my work-life balance, I won't be ready to pivot. You could have all the planning you want in the world, and then we have a pandemic.
Oh, right. Mm-hmm.
So there's no way to say this is not going to work. But if you have a plan, it's a lot easier to flex that plan than to not have one and try to scramble to figure out what you're going to do.
Yeah.
A lot more relaxing too for the mind to know, oh, I already have the escape hatch, or I already know how to move this. That's a wonderful gift to be able to give your clients.
Yeah, well, like you said, there's been a lot of hard learned lessons. I've been the one that made the plan and I stuck to it so painfully, and then it crumbles anyways because clearly you needed to pivot and shift. And so now it's not even about it's about the plan in so much as the plan serves you. You don't make the plan and then set it up like it's this golden statue and now you serve it. The plan is for you. You own the plan.
Plans, people.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Because, just like when you go, I'm totally beating this analogy to death as I often do, but you look at the GPS map and you're like, oh, I'm just going to move the route over here with my finger and see how much longer it's going to take me. It's like, oh, it's 2 minutes. Oh, if I go that 2 minutes extra or 4 minutes extra, who cares? I'd rather go that way. It's less traffic, better scenery, more Starbucks, whatever it is, whatever your priorities are. And you talked about getting out in nature as opposed to Netflix. I love binge watching TV. I am a TV and movie person. But I can take my dogs out. Matter of fact, I'm doing it right after this recording. I'm taking my dogs out for a walk outside because they need it. But I also need it because we're in the woods and I can go out in the sun, and it's freezing today. It's 36 degrees, but hey, we're getting there. It's Connecticut. It'll be like 80 degrees next week. Don't worry. But that's spring. But yeah, so if we go out in the woods, the dogs are going to be happy. I'm going to be happy. They're not going to be annoying me, first of all, because I got to go walk and sniff things. But the sunshine, everything, that's such a break for my brain. I love that. I needed that, which is why we moved out here. And just having that habit of doing it midday, I find coming back to my desk is so much easier. So much easier than just like running up the street eating fast food in my car like I used to when I was employed elsewhere. So having the option to do that has made a big difference. And I think anybody, employed or not, can find a way to take a walk or find a way to listen to a show on the radio or this podcast on their break. So yeah, you're making some just really amazing points that are clicking with me. So I'm just kind of repeating it all back to you because I just think it's so important. I want to make sure I'm getting it. So how do you work with people to stay on the plan? Like, do you work with them to keep them there, to keep them on the, I don't want to say straight and narrow because we just said it's not concrete, right?
No,
not
it can look like a circle or an S.
Yeah, it's wide. There's a couple of roundabouts. You can choose your exit, choose your ending. Yeah. So how do you get them? If somebody's not used to using that plan, as relieving as it can be, and because we tend to like to change our minds or find new things to do, what happens when we want to veer off? I know that herding artists and entrepreneurs is like herding cats. So what do you do to help people like stay? Again, raising both my hands for this one. How do you get them to stay on that path and trust it when they've never done it before? I'm sure there's some people that take to it like a duck to water, but I mean, there's got to be many of us who don't, or fall apart at keeping up with it because we've got all the things going on.
Yeah, what a good question. And herding cats, I say that about my kids. That's so funny. But it absolutely is like that.
Yeah.
So, man, what I typically do is I work in a VIP day setting. Like we have this like capsule of like, 4, 5, 6 hours where we work together and like really like focused day. And then you come out with a plan. And that's why I said it's helpful if you have a team member or two. But what I'm opening myself up to now, and that my schedule is changing a lot, is I would love to continue to do these check-ins on a more regular basis. And so we would kick it off with like a very intensive, that kind of brain dump that I'm describing, like, let's get it all out, make a plan style. And then it's almost kind of like a personal trainer, I guess, in that, hey, you're going to go home these other days of the week and work out, but we're going to reconvene and we're going to check in and see how you're doing and just really honor, like, how are you feeling? Be super honest. How's it going? You have to be honest because I can't help make adjustments or pivots if you're not honest with it. So at the end of the day, it's your business. Like you just tell me where you want to go and I'm going to help give you the tools to get there. And what I love to do, I touched a little bit on it earlier, is help the communication gap between the visionary and the team. Because if you are working with your team every day, but you're only maybe continuing to meet with me like once a month or something, or it could be every other week or whatever that may look like. But you're with your team members way more often than you're with me is the point. And so there is a way for your team to support you in this new plan. And so, or if you don't have a team, at a minimum, you have the document and you just revisit it and you don't avoid it. And if you are avoiding it, pay attention to why and what's coming up for you that is causing you anxiety around a plan that you just paid to help somebody, make with you. Like what is that? What's showing up there? But
you're
I
saying
think
there's a reason that on the Billions show, it shows that these high money funds have on staff therapists, is what you're saying, because you're like, it sounds like you're like part therapist,